All right, everybody, welcome to the pregame show to get you in the know. I am Ethan Myers with the Know. Check us out everywhere. Be in the know at Be in the Know. The Know, you'll find us. We are there. We're talking Saints pregame, right? Saints are facing off against the Chicago Bears today at Soldier Field. It'll be interesting to see exactly how that all pans out because the Saints are facing their former head coach in Dennis Allen, so that should be interesting to see. Just because I think we'll get into that later. We'll kind of follow the normal pattern because I want to talk about Da. But yeah, pregame show. Let's get it started. As we know, or as you may have seen, DeAndre Swift will actually play today. So that was a little bit of a question mark going into the game. And then Isaac Yadam is out. He is the only one with an injury designation. The rest of the Saints players that are out are just healthy inactives, which include Hugo Amadi, Wright, Simpkins, Truss, all offensive linemen there. And then Williams on the D line is out as well. But obviously, the biggest news there is probably the fact that DeAndre Swift will play. We'll see how that goes. But um, the Saints are going into the game 1-5 to the Chicago Bears 3-2. I think for obvious reasons, the Saints are the underdogs here in this game. Um, I think the Saints are probably underdogs all season, which is fine. We're gonna just keep riding it out to see how this goes. There's not much we can really, expect from this season. We're 1-5, new head coach. You have Spencer Rattler starting. A lot of folks wanted Shuck, and where the state of it now is just getting through the season, right? So see what your young guys can do. So, like I said, we are the underdog in this one, so it'll be interesting to see the win. Now, I'm not one of these Saints fans that says just throw the season away. Let's get rid of it. That's just lose games so we can get a better draft pick. Not a big fan of doing that. Go out and be aggressive. Go out and be, just stay competitive. That's all I want to see this year. So far, the Saints have done that pretty well, minus probably one game. They've made everything aggressive, or not aggressive. They made everything competitive. Spencer Rattler, he's running on I think 6 touchdowns and only one interception this season, so he looks good. Depending on how the rest of the season goes, you're probably going to look at um, the idea of Shuck playing a game or two, which I wouldn't hate seeing just to kind of know what we got there, right? It wouldn't be bad. Um, but ultimately, stay competitive this season. That's what we're here for, and that's what we want to do. So the big headline this week that they talked about it on Dome Discussions, our Saints podcast. Dennis Allen is back, or rather, we're visiting Dennis Allen, right? So Dennis Allen is the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. So I expect him to be aggressive. I expect him to turn up the heat. He knows who Spencer Rattler is. Spencer started a couple of games for him last season. Spencer was in the locker room. Spencer was in the quarterback room. Spencer was on the field for him, practice, preseason, training camp, everything. So he's very familiar with who Spencer Rattler is. So I expect him to be very aggressive towards that. How that happens, whether it be blitz or certain styles of plays, will be interesting. But ultimately, like I said, I expect Dennis Allen to say go get him, right? They want the guys to get after Spencer Rattler. They want them to rattle him. But so far, Spencer really hasn't been rattled very much, so that's always good. Can't rattle the rattler, so to speak. That's going to be interesting to see. I think this will really kind of tell folks a lot about Spencer Rattler. This game is really going to show people what kind of quarterback he is, because I think he's going to have a former head coach, like I said, being aggressive and going after him. So that is probably the biggest headline for me. The biggest point in this game is let's see how Spencer handles playing against someone who knows very well who he is. It's almost like going up against, your former college coach who came to the NFL or something like that. But it'll be interesting to see. And I've said it week after week. The Saints need to lean into the run, especially today. Like I said, I think DA is going to want to be aggressive and come after Spencer. So that's one thing that, yeah, I'm still a little bit bewildered on why we don't lean into the run game. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I might have to say it every single pre and post game show. But that's fine if I do. I'll keep saying it. Running the ball is the easiest way to take some pressure off your quarterback. And when your quarterback is going against a former head coach, I think it's even more important to do that because the style of defense that Dennis Allen wants to play. The style, and he wants revenge, right? He wants to push it to the Saints or give it to the Saints or whatever phrase you want to use. And so run the ball. You have Alvin Kamara, you have Kendre Miller, who has ran angry this year. Give the ball to him. He's probably angry at Dennis Allen as well. He probably wants to make a mockery of Dennis Allen's defense. So run the ball, get the ball rolling, punch those guys in the face on the defensive line in that front seven, make them not want to tackle, and slow the game down. That's the biggest thing that I think we can do to help everybody on this team, not just Spencer Rattler, but everyone. If it's Dennis Allen's revenge game, let Kendre Miller have a revenge game as well, right? Let them play or let him play and let him just run guys over all night or all day. It's a noon game, so all day. That's the biggest thing I want to see. It's just play to your strengths. I think the run game is the biggest strength that we have, and I think we need to lean into it. And then on top of all that, Devin Neal, he can have a heck of a game today as well, and there's no reason that we shouldn't have 30 touches on the ground and arguably 40 touches to the running backs between passing and throwing. So that's one thing I'd like to see is them just lean into that run game heavy. It's going to help you. It's going to keep the Bears off your back. And yeah, run the dang ball. I've said it. I'll say it again. I'll say it all week. I think we have one of the best running back groups in the league right now. So running back by committee, pound the rock. Bears have had some pretty high scoring games. 29 points, 24 points, 21 points, 31 points, 25 points, 25 points. But at the same time, they've given up 27, 24, 52, 14, 24, and 24. The only game they haven't given up 20 points is against the Cowboys. The Cowboys lost to the Carolina Panthers last week. Not a very good team right now, despite how Dak Prescott may or may not be playing. It's not a very good team. So I'd like to see what we can do, right? Again, I think Dennis Allen's going to want to bring the heat against Spencer. So drop some of those plays, play action, get the ball rolling, and just make it happen. Bomb the ball down the field. And again, don't let this be a Dennis Allen revenge game. Let's make it a Spencer Rattler and a Kendre Miller revenge game. That's what I want to see. So talking about running backs, we saw all week last week. We'll probably see it the rest of the season. Trade rumors about this player, that player, who's calling, who's not calling, who's leaving, who's staying. Disregard all of that because at the end of the day, when you got a guy like Alvin Kamara saying that if he gets traded, he's going to go sip pina colada somewhere, you got to love that. I think, again, the state of this season, the state of the rest of the season, you have to find the positives. And I think that is a positive. I think, when you got a guy like AK, I think ultimately he's, teams probably wouldn't give up a whole lot for him because they know that the situation that the Saints are in. So keep him. I think it's worth it. I don't think there's any reason to trade him. I don't think there's any reason to even entertain the trade. If he doesn't want to play anywhere else, let him stay here. I'm cool with it. AK can be that voice of the locker room that stays consistent through this rebuilding, not rebuilding phase, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the most important thing is to have at least one because, DeMario, Cam Jordan, those guys are going to be looking at retirement in the next year or so. AK's probably got another 5 or 6 years. He can be one of those transition guys into the new direction of this team. And so, give him a job, give him a clipboard after he retires as well. So he wants to be here. Let's keep him here. I don't know if I think anyone's off limits. I think there's some guys, I would personally say trade Olave before I trade Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Shaheed, and it has nothing to do with either one of them outside of the fact that, again, I think Shaheed could stay here. You get him on a decent contract for the next 4 or 5 years. You have a really, really solid, athletic for the next quarterback for Rattler next year, whatever it may be. And the biggest reason that I say I'm okay with trading Olave over him is because I think Olave has probably higher upside somewhere else. I think there's a lot of speedy receivers in the league. Olave, I don't know if he's a wide receiver one, but he would be a very, very, very capable and talented wide receiver two on another team that's making a playoff push. And I just think, again, Shaheed has a little more upside. You can go draft a wide receiver one, and Shaheed is still an excellent wide receiver two. So that's the main reason I would not be against that. And ultimately, if he gets his draft picks, bolster up this offensive line a little bit more. Get some help in the secondary. The young guys are doing okay, right? They had that one really good game, and then last week there was a lot to be desired in the secondary again. But I think we have some one or two really talented guys back there that will be here for years to come. So, yeah, we'll kind of jump into the rest of it. As you know, we always talk about the NFC South because the Saints are in the NFC South. So Falcons are facing off tonight, Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. Falcons are 3-2, 49ers are 4-2. Falcons have already had their bye week. Panthers are facing off against the 0-6 Jets at 3-3. So, they'll be up in, uh, you know, colder territory, but they're still 0-6. So it'll be interesting to see how the Panthers do against them after beating the Cowboys last week. And then Buccaneers have Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. So 5-1 Buccaneers against the 4-2 Detroit Lions. So all of those games are games to watch. And again, typically we would go over a little bit of NFC South standings and where we stand, but we're dead last. So not much playoff hopes for us. So we'll just kind of skip that bit. And then rest of the NFL slate, I think really the only game that I'm looking forward to watching outside of the Saints game is probably that Monday Night Football game. Big fan of the Lions and the program that they're building, or still building, whatever you want to call it out there. So that's probably the only other game I'll have my eyes on, other than that, the NFC South games, of course. Especially with the Panthers or the Falcons playing Sunday night, we'll be able to catch both of those pretty easily. So, bets anytime touchdown score. I really like Kendre Miller for the Saints. I think that again, this should be a revenge game for him. He's been running angry this season, and that's kind of his style of running. But I think he should be even angrier today. You're lining up against you know the guy who essentially puts you in injured reserve for no reason. You're going up against his defense. You can make him you can make his defense look really bad, and I really like him for anytime touchdown scorers. So on the other side of the ball, I really like Cole Kmet. Saints have had trouble guarding tight ends, and Caleb Williams, another young quarterback. I think he's probably young quarterbacks love their safety blankets, and that's a safety blanket for him. That's a high quality safety blanket. So and he only has, I think one touchdown this season, so it would be on par for him to get to against the Saints or some stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to see, how the Saints match up against Cole and DJ Moore. But ultimately, I think it's the offensive side of the ball more than anything today. How Spencer Rattler handles the pressure. Is this going to be a revenge game for Dennis Allen, or is this going to be a revenge game for Spencer and Kendre Miller? So uh, that's pretty much it for today. We got the post game show almost immediately after, typically within 10 to 15 minutes after the pregame show. So make sure you check us out there. Make sure you check out everything we do. We have our flagship podcast and Who Happen Knows / Brew Brothers, Brew Bros. We have our Saints podcast and Dome discussions. We have our Louisiana game day show, which we got a lot of voices on there now from some of the smaller schools to big old LSU. So check that out. Support those guys. Like we always say, Louisiana and in the world after, we're New Orleans, Louisiana, the world after. So we're trying to put as many eyes on those things as we can. So check us out and make sure you tune into that post game show because we'll be back with you whenever the game ends shortly after. And yeah, who dat? Let's see how this game goes.